Thanks for staying with us on Asset Television. Welcome to the news at this hour. I am Emanuela Akwaya, and here are the headlines. New satellites to grow economy, boost communication on the way. Again, Senate postpones debate on electoral matters. After 11 years, 300 refugees return to Nigeria. Now the news in detail. The federal government has approved the purchase of 2 new communication satellites to boost Nigeria's digital infrastructure and support plan to grow the economy to $1 trillion. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, disclosed this on Wednesday in Abuja at a press conference to mark Global Privacy Day 2026, organized by the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. Tijani said the approval marked a significant shift in Nigeria's digital strategy, noting that the country currently stands out in West Africa for lacking active communication satellites, a gap the new assets are expected to address. He also said progress had been made on the federal government's flagship 90,000-kilometer fiber optic backbone project, which is aimed at expanding broadband access across the country. The Senate on Wednesday deferred deliberation on the much-anticipated report for its Committee on Electoral Matters, following the absence of the committee's chairman, Senator Simon Bako Lalong. The Red Chamber had listed the presentation and clause-by-clause consideration of the report on the order paper. Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele formally invited Senator Lalong to lay the report, after which debate was expected to commence. However, proceedings stalled when the committee chairman was not present. The development sparked a brief exchange among senators before a motion was moved to step down the item.
Their members, the single senator, are allowed to go home with this bill. And when we come tomorrow, which is the next legislative day, we will also hold a brief closed-door session for us to debate critical clauses of this bill, so that we can come and consider and take our positions in the gathering.
Corroborating the Senate leader's position, Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the postponement of both the presentation and detailed consideration of the report until the next legislative day.
I believe the Senate has a way of diffusing tension. This is a very important bill, considering the fact that we are about to go into elections. So if we rush it, we regret at the tribunal. So if we get it right, then all Nigerians will smile. So we take our time and then we make sure we do the needful and we ensure that justice is done to all and sundry, and the bill will save the interests of Nigerians and ensure free and transparent elections. I believe
the Senate is currently working on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025, aimed at reforming aspects of the 2022 Electoral Act ahead of the 2027 general elections. The proposed amendments are expected to address operational gaps and strengthen transparency in the electoral process. The Senate has moved to discuss in a closed-door session an alleged breach of Nigeria's territorial integrity linked to a December U.S. military strike on Nigerian soil, raising concerns about constitutional procedure and national security oversight. The issue was mentioned on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday through a point of order by Senator Abdul Ningi, PDP Bauchi Central, who spoke under matters of privilege. Senator Ningi criticized what he described as the audacity of a United States airstrike reportedly carried out in Sokoto State on Christmas Day, arguing that Nigeria's legislators were not briefed on the operation, despite its occurrence within the country's borders.
The United States of America, via its military, took hit into Nigerian territory, which is a complete violation of this document, which you also to protect, which is a complete breach of the United Nations Charter. Mr. President, the only person under this constitution where powers are vested in him to give out order for it in any part of Nigeria is of course the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Mr. President, the title of Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces is not ceremonial. It is not a guy thing. It is to give the President such powers to control the armed forces and give them order. Even the President himself cannot and shall not, under this constitution, ask a foreign power from any part of the country into Nigeria. What the President can do is to ask some military to come into Nigeria and align with their local forces and give them the right to take it. Mr. President, if you allow this matter, the executive refuses to talk about it, or they say that they were told. The executive acts, but the legislature must talk. In spite of the intention of the American military, in spite of whatever achievement that they made, Mr. President, if you will continue to say that the National Assembly that is vested with these powers under Part 4 and will remain mum. Mr. President.
In response, Senate President Godswill Akpabio acknowledged the gravity of the concern, but stressed that matters of national security are not suitable for open debate in the chamber.
Allow anybody to contribute, and you have gone ahead to argue your issue, you are debating your issue. No contribution is required, but what you raise is that your privilege has been breached. I've read section 9, I understand it, and I was about to let you know that your privilege has not yet been breached. If you can allow me, I can explain. Yesterday, because it's a matter of security, we really should not discuss it in the open. And we should have a closed session so that we will be well briefed. But we lost the civil senator Akwashiki on our first sitting, and there was no time to undertake that. So you are very right, your point of order is noted, and I want to assure you that just like you read on the pages of newspapers that the attack, I'm sure you are referring to what happened in Sokoto, happened with the concurrence and the collaboration of the Nigerian security services. We have also been so briefed. We need to brief you in closed session. We need to brief you in closed session. Security is not something that we speak in the market, but your point of order is noted. Allow anybody to contribute.
Human rights groups, activists and social media users have condemned the Lagos State Police Command and the Lagos State government over the arrest and the use of force on residents who protested and demolition of their homes across parts of the state on Wednesday. The condemnation followed police deployment of tear gas to disperse hundreds of demonstrators who converged in Ikeja to protest what they described as their displacement without adequate compensation or relocation. The protesters drawn from Makoko, Orowonshoki, Owode Onirin, Okobaba and other communities carried placards bearing inscriptions such as "A mega city cannot be built on the bones and blood of the poor," "Urban poor is not a crime," "Stop killing us," "Justice for Owode Onirin traders," and Lagos is not for the rich alone. They also chanted solidarity songs. The protest began in the morning and gathered momentum at the Ikeja underbridge, where demonstrators converged before marching towards the Lagos State House of Assembly in Alausa. Asset will be back after the short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. The first batch of 300 Nigerian refugees have returned to Gauza in Borno State, marking the commencement of the fourth phase of a sustained repatriation exercise. The returnees, comprising 75 households, arrived in Polka, Gauza local government in a coordinated and dignified homecoming. The journey for the families represented not merely a border crossing, but an emotional passage from displacement to building their livelihood after 11 years in the IDP camp in Cameroon Republic. This milestone exercise follows Borno State Governor Babagana Omara Zulum's visit to their camp in Cameroon on 8 December 2025, where he pledged a voluntary, safe and dignified homecoming process. Chairman of the Borno State Subcommittee on Repatriation, Engineer Lawan Abba Wakilbe, described the exercise as a significant achievement in the lifetime of the present administration. In a show of regional solidarity, the governor of Cameroon Far North Region, Minjin Yawa Bakari, personally bade the refugees farewell, reaffirming bilateral cooperation in addressing the humanitarian impact of insurgency around Lake Chad. Elders of Gidanwaya community in Lewe local government area of Kaduna State have revealed that they sold more than 3,000 bags of maize to raise 40 million demanded by kidnappers. Yet, 13 abducted villagers remain in captivity weeks after the ransom was paid. At a press conference in Kaduna, Chairman of the Elders Forum, Malam Rabo Sambo, recounted how gunmen stormed the community late night on November 11, 2025. Killing 4 residents and abducting 13 others, 5 men and 8 women. According to Sambo, the attack happened between 11 p.m. and midnight when residents were already asleep. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) on Wednesday arraigned the former chairman Benue State Independent Electoral Commission (BESAC), Dr. Teso Joseph Loko, and 10 others before a federal high court in Makurdi, Benue State capital, presided over by Justice M.S. Abubakar. Those arraigned with includes Kuleve Kelvin Telumo, Seki Mtonga, Thaddeus Mtonga Manasseh, Ugbede Denen Ronald, Tatio Thaddeus, Angwa Dominic Tehemba, Uwa Benjamin Igbawa, Adese Asun, Okuma Emmanuel Yosta, Owoche Ode, and Mio Iyenge at the Federal High Court Makurdi for an alleged 1,100 million naira fraud. They were arraigned on 30 counts charged bordering on criminal misappropriation of public funds and money laundering to the tune of 1.1 billion naira. Dr. Joseph Loko was arrested by the Makurdi Zonal Directorate of the EFCC upon receipt of a petition against the defendants. The complaint alleged that the former chairman of BSEC, under the advantage of his office to misappropriation and divert funds meant for the conduct of the 2020 and 2022 local government election, for which a total sum of 985,403,000 naira and 70 kobo and 680 million naira were released respectively. The wife of South Korea's ousted former president has been sentenced to 20 months in jail for accepting bribes from the controversial Unification Church. However, the court cleared 52-year-old Kim Keon-hee on charges of stock price manipulation and receiving free opinion polls for a political broker before the 2022 presidential election, which her husband Yoon Suk-yoon won. Yoon has already been sentenced to 5 years in jail for abusing power and obstructing justice in relation to his field martial law bid in 2024. This marks the first time in South Korea's history that a former presidential couple are convicted at the same time. Serena Williams has reignited speculation that she could make a return to tennis, refusing to rule it out when asked and instead replying, "I don't know, I'm just going to see what happens." The 23 Grand Slam singles champion, a 44-year-old mother of two, has not competed since a third-round loss at the 2022 US Open. But she re-entered the tennis anti-doping test pool in December, setting off the rumor mill, only to deny that she was making a comeback. She was questioned about the prospect again on television show on Wednesday, and while not confirming any plans, she also would not rule it out. And that's the size of our package at this hour. Do follow us on all our social media handles. On behalf of the news crew, I'm Emmanuel Akwaya.